I think it's about time to get this show on the road, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the one and only, the world famous Rich Wilson Show. That's right, folks. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the world famous Rich Wilson Show. I am Rich Wilson, and I wish I could tell you that I was in a good mood, but I'm not. I'm really not. I'm not in a good mood, and it's because something that happened today. By the way, if you, just as a note, if you like my channel and you want to hear more stuff out of this, make sure you click that subscribe button. Make sure you click the bell for notifications. If you're on one of my other social media platforms, make sure you click follow on that as well. And make sure you set it to notify you every time I go live. Now, today, something very disturbing happened. And I know that some of you are not going to initially agree with me. But I'm hoping after this conversation, you will. I really do. Because a very bad precedent was set today. Very bad precedent. And let me explain to you why. Okay? So this is Remington. Remington Arms. They're a gun manufacturer, ammunition manufacturer. They make hunting equipment, stuff like that. They make a bunch of different stuff. Okay? And you're probably wondering, why am I talking about Remington? Why am I talking about a gun manufacturer? Because a lot of people think, oh, Remington makes guns. They make a lot of other stuff, but they also make guns. Okay. Well, here's the reason why. If some of y'all need a refresher, those are the people that were killed in the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre. Okay. Now, a gentleman, and I'm one of those people that I will not name names for people who do this because I don't want them to gain any kind of popularity, anything from this. Anyway, a 20-year-old male went into Sandy Hook with a Bushmaster AR-15, which is this weapon right here. Okay. Now, that's not the weapon that he actually had. That is, the Connecticut State Police were showing they brought one in to show it. Okay. Took it in, and he shot and killed a whole lot of people. Okay. And like I said, that's the image that I have, right? The image I brought up. I'm not going to show you any of the crime scene photos, but those are all the people that he shot and killed. The children that he killed were all kindergartners and first graders, and the adults on there are teachers in the school. He then turned the gun. He also had a Glock, and he turned the firearm, the pistol, on himself and shot himself and killed himself. Okay. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because today Remington settled for $73 million to go to the families of the Sandy Hook massacre in a civil liability lawsuit. Stop and let that process for a second. They settled, which means that Remington did not necessarily agree that they are liable, but they did. By you settling, that means you agree to the fact that you have some culpability in the civil lawsuit, and you could say that, oh, we don't want the PR, but the problem is still, by settling in this type of a lawsuit, you have accepted that your manufacturing of a gun is responsible and liable for the deaths of those children and those teachers. That is not true. Now, I know you're going to disagree with me on this. I know a bunch of people are going to disagree with me on this. It's not Remington's responsibility when somebody uses their equipment to commit crimes. Okay? It's not. But based on what happened today, now they're saying that, yes, they are. Okay? $73 million. And Remington, and this is the actual paragraph from the article. Remington Arms has agreed to settle liability claims for 9 of the families whose loved ones were killed in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. So it wasn't even all of them. 9 of the families sued and won. $73 million. Okay. You say, well, it's a settlement. No, it's still a win. The settlement agreement announced Tuesday in a court filing. It is the first time in the U.S. the gun manufacturer has been held liable for a mass shooting. Now you wonder, you probably are wondering with my title, why is this so important? Okay. Well, why is this so important? And I'm going to explain that, but this sets the precedence for this. Okay. So, when are we going to see? When are we going to see 13 lawsuits come out of come against Intratec, and also Savage, High Point, and Springfield, Savage, Springfield. When are we going to see the lawsuits? 13 lawsuits come after them for the Columbine shooting. Because if Remington set this precedence, that means these lawsuits are coming. And I'm going to get to why. Because, here's another thing. Okay, so we're going to see 17, 17, possibly 34 lawsuits for against Smith & Wesson for the MP15223 that was used in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, Parkland, Florida shooting. Because that was the firearm used in that. How about this one, even better, 61 different lawsuits. Okay, so think about this. Okay, so one lawsuit has already happened in this case. Okay. But let me go down the list of these. Colt, Daniel Defense, LWRC International, POF USA, Christensen Arms, LMT, and Noveski. The reason why I say that was the weapons used in the Las Vegas massacre. Okay. Now, the reason why I said that there's already been a lawsuit is the court ruled that $800 million was agreed upon in MGM settlement. Now, MGM does have a little bit of liability in that situation. I didn't agree it was $800 million worth. But by their own policies, they failed to detect this was going on, because when this guy was constantly coming and going from the car and bringing nothing but bags into the hotel room, not once did anybody stop him and say, "What are you doing?" Because I worked in the casino industry. When somebody starts doing that, you, as security, you're supposed to stop them and find out what's going on. So that's why they did. But again, when are we going to see these? Okay. Now, the reason why I say this is because this opens up a whole new plethora of lawsuits that are capable. If now the manufacturer of the gun is responsible for people's deaths used in a homicide, so when does that move on to? When are we going to see 45 lawsuits against Ford for the SUV that was used to crash through the Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin? Okay. When are we going to see the lawsuits? Here's another one, okay? I had a damn good friend I had a damn good friend when I was living in Nevada. Okay. Guy hit him, killed him. Guy was drunk. Never once had any citations for any kind of accidents. Didn't have nothing on his record. A perfectly fine dude. Suddenly, he's at a friend's party, has a few drinks, and goes home under the influence and plows over my friend and kills him. Okay? When do I get to sue Jack Daniels? Because this guy had no record of ever doing this before in his life. So obviously Jack Daniels is the reason why he was drunk. Because if you're going to put the same standpoint on a firearm, that because this person had the firearm, because Remington manufactured the firearm, if they had never manufactured the firearm, he could have never done this, is what the reasoning behind the liability is. Without them manufacturing this gun, which his mother owned, then that now means that they're liable because they just simply manufactured the tool that was used to murder people. So that makes car manufacturers responsible in vehicular homicides. That makes the alcohol manufacturers responsible in DUIs. Okay? Or it could be the car manufacturer is responsible in a DUI. So actually there's two. Hold on a second, Robert. My friend Cordera is over here. People use baseball bats for more than games. Can of worms is now open. Ex post facto. Initiated by court precedents. Yes. Okay, so if I go out and I got I've got, say, there we go, right here. Say I take my Gerber and I do something illegal which causes somebody's death. Do they get to sue Gerber for it? Louisville. Somebody takes a Louisville Slugger and clubs 6 people to death in a nightclub. Oh, and that was another one. I didn't even bring that one up. The guy that shot all the people in a nightclub in Florida. When's the lawsuit's going to happen then? Here's the reason why I say this, and this is why this all comes together, and this is where I put this together, is where this sets a very bad precedent, is now that they could do this, that means lawsuits are coming, folks. Now that this has happened, there is a lot of people in America here recently that are broke and just saw a gun manufacturer cave to a lawsuit. Okay? This is where it's going to get ugly. A lot of these people are now going to start filing lawsuits. In fact, be looking for advertisements on TV and radio where lawyers will start advertising, was your relative killed by a person with a gun? Give us a call, because they're going to start suing the gun manufacturers. So if you're a person like myself that owns firearms and wants to be able to purchase firearms, I'm going to tell you right now, probably a good idea to start making an investment towards getting ones that you want. And here's the reason why this is a bad precedent. Congress and Senate have tried multiple times, the Democrats, to ban guns. They say, we don't want to ban guns. Horse shit. Yes, you do. Every time there's a massacre of some kind, we start getting these, we need to ban guns. Okay, first of all, the stories that came out after this, the follow-up stories that came up with this was, Sandy Hook massacre victims' families win $73 million in a lawsuit from gun manufacturer Remington, who produced the assault rifle that was, and I'm not going to go any further, assault rifle. Okay, folks, there's no such thing. That's a made-up term. Okay? AR does not stand for assault rifle. I don't know how many times I have to tell people this. It's armor light. It's the platform of the firearm. It's an armor light. That's why it's an AR. It's armor light. Okay. You have manufacturers that produce their own version of the platform, the armor light platform. Okay. Now here's the thing. This is why this sets up bad precedents, because now they can't get guns banned, but now this shows that they could sue these companies into complete bankruptcy. They could sue them into complete bankruptcy now. So, once again, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Springfield, all them ones, congratulations. There's a whole lot of lawsuits that are going to be coming. Because they've set a dangerous precedent. Your Second Amendment rights are going to be infringed on in a way that doesn't need legislation passed. They just opened the door to our lawmakers to where now they could start pushing forth another way to get guns banned. This is the precedence they've set. That once again, we live in a fucking society, folks, where no one wants to take responsibility for their actions, so we blame people who aren't actually responsible. And we blame the ones who aren't responsible that have money. Why? So we can get money. One of the reasons why somebody that I talked to today, and I'm not going to name names only because it is a person in the U.S. government. It is a member of the House of Representatives that I spoke to directly concerning this issue. But like I said, I didn't get permission to say that I talked to this individual, so I will not name their name. But we discussed this, and this really does set a bad precedence. But part of the reason why this happened the way that it did was, well, this 20-year-old lived at home, had some mental problems, lived at home with his mom, but no dad was there. When he woke up that morning, he shot and killed his mother, then drove to the school. There was nobody left to sue. There was nobody left to go after for responsibility. He killed himself. He killed his mom. So then what do? Turn to the gun manufacturer. They're the only party left that we think was involved in this. And there it was. And that's what happened. But now it's opened the door to more things. This is a very horrible precedent. Okay? This is a very horrible precedent. Because now there's 24 different firearms that were involved in this and the Las Vegas incident. 12 different manufacturers. This precedent, 61 people can go after all of those manufacturers. Smith & Wesson, I guess, is responsible for this. This is the Parkland, Florida incident or massacre. I guess it's Smith & Wesson's fault, according to this precedent. The three that I mentioned about Columbine, I guess they're responsible for this too. And like I said, this is a dangerous precedent. This is a horrible precedent. I made the decision after I saw this and read this, I will no longer be supporting Remington. I will not be supporting them. Because of them caving, they just set a dangerous precedent. And it's going to make it to where now you've opened a Pandora's box for everyone to go after manufacturers, because God help us if we legitimately go after the people responsible for this. Because we can't blame ourselves. We can't blame the people who actually committed the crimes, and not necessarily ourselves. Because you look at what happened in Waukesha, Wisconsin. A bunch of families went to a parade. A bunch of people were in the parade to celebrate a holiday. And the media coverage on this They blamed the SUV outright any damn way. They said a red SUV drove through the crowd. A red SUV did this. But it was actually a psychotic criminal who's been a criminal multiple times, who had just ran over his girlfriend, mowed through a bunch of people in a parade. But we kept saying that it was a red SUV, and I made the joke. So when are we going to lock the SUV up? When are we going to sue the SUV manufacturer? And it was just a joke. Now, by this precedent, they legitimately can do that. Because they're in the lawsuits, they're going to use the Sandy Hook massacre settlement as the precedent set to sue companies into bankruptcy. Your Second Amendment rights are now under attack again, but this time it won't be legislation. So you don't have to worry about the politicians that want to ban guns passing laws to ban your guns. They can now, just because of this, sue manufacturers right into oblivion. So I would say if you don't have a firearm for home defense and you've seriously thought about it and been contemplating it, I would probably strongly suggest you do that now. If you have the money, and I tell you what, most of y'all know, the different platforms I'm on. If you got any questions about what on any advice when it comes to this, please, by all means, you can contact me. I am trained in firearm self-defense in close quarters, so I can assist you in things that you need to look for and what would work for you. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to cause a problem, and manufacturers, the first way they respond to these massive-ass lawsuits is they jack their prices up in order to cover their losses. But eventually, they'll jack their rates up to the point nobody buys them, they're not selling weapons anymore, and they go out of business. Because now they just can't afford the lawsuits anymore. So congratulations, Remington. You just gave the politicians a way to push forth gun control without passing a law. And I get it. I understand. It was a tragic incident. A bunch of children and teachers did not have to die. They didn't. It was completely and totally senseless. It was a horrific event. The people in Las Vegas, they were just going to a concert. They should be able to go to a concert. I understand the arguments that get made. But it is not the manufacturer's fault. If I make a really good rock and I sell it to somebody and he bludgeons someone to death with it, why am I responsible if I made somebody a really nice, cool-looking rock and they went and bludgeoned somebody to death with it? But now they can. So I will guarantee you this much right now. If I'm just getting to the point, I'm not going to sell a damn thing anymore. I'll just find a way to destroy it at this point. Because I'm not liable for, I should not be liable for selling somebody something, regardless if it's intended to kill something or it's not intended to kill something, and then they use it to kill something. The only time I would be liable is that they literally look at me and go, I'm going to buy this to kill somebody. Well, then, yeah, I'm liable for that shit if I went through with the sale. I get that. But if somebody buys something off of me and that person does not let me know that's their intended purpose, I'm not liable for this. Remington sold those firearms thinking it would be used in home defense, sport shooting, which includes hunting, or range shooting, because there are some of us out there that do like to buy firearms, and we do like to go to the range, and we do like to shoot them. We enjoy the ownership of them, but we're also responsible with them. Okay? Trust me, if I owned a cannon, I would find a way to take it to the range to be able to shoot it. Now, somebody's going to say, well, you can't own a cannon. Horse shit. Yes, you can. Go back and look at the Jefferson biography that was done on him. He literally stated that, yes, you can own a cannon. In fact, private citizens owned ships of war. So, yes, the Second Amendment does say that you can own weapons that the military owns. Now, do I believe somebody should have a an RPG? No. I mean, what are you going to do? Spend $6,000 per round to blow up a range? There's really nothing you can do but hang it on the wall. And you know what? They make some goddamn good replicas that you can't tell the difference anymore. Who has to know? But when it comes to owning firearms and antiques and stuff like that, I mean, there's manufacturers that manufactured guns over 100 years ago that don't exist anymore. If you use one of their guns to kill a bunch of people, then who the hell do you sue? But it sets a dangerous precedence. It really does. It sets a very horrible precedence, folks. Be careful. I can tell you right now, if any of you have legally sold a firearm, I hope to God you got good insurance. Because they could sue you. They set this precedence. That's another bad precedence about this. If I legally sell a firearm, if I go through a firearms dealer who has a dealer's license to sell my firearm to another individual, I could be held liable for their actions. That's why I said I don't think I'm ever selling another one again. I've sold a few over my time. I've literally gone through same licensed dealer that I had in the state of Nevada, same one. I would contact him up. Hey, I got a guy that's interested in buying one of my firearms. The guy would come to me. He would take the firearm from me. He would do a background check on the other person. He would take the money because that's how it goes. He would take the money from the individual once they've passed the background check. Then he would hand him over, and then he would give me my money minus the fee that he charges for the sale. Done it, I don't know, half a dozen times. Now what happens if one of those decides to go do something bad? This precedent says they could sue me for it now. So I'd have to tell my friends out there, go, hey, you want to sell one of yours? Nope. Not at all. You can blame that on Remington for caving. Because here's the thing. If Remington didn't cave and the judge awarded them the lawsuit, and they would have fought it till the judge awarded it, then I can't hold Remington liable for that, for setting this precedence. I could be mad at the judge for setting a horrific precedence. But Remington caved. They agreed to settle. So they're the architect of it. Then you say, well, isn't that the same argument you're making? They manufactured the gun, but you say they're not liable, but they settled. So are they liable? Yes. Because they didn't have to. I understand it was a tragic incident. I understand it was a bunch of children and teachers. And my heart hurts for those people who lost their loved ones. It really does. But what Remington did was so unbelievably irresponsible in this situation that they weren't thinking about what could happen to the rest of the legal gun owners in this country, and just thought about themselves. How can we get out of this with the best amount of PR and the least amount of bad PR? We'll look like the good guys by settling, I guess. You know, screw everybody else. Because that's really how it seems. Remington just said screw everybody out in the world who owns legal firearms. And seriously, I mean, when you look at it, that's exactly what happened. You could completely disagree with me. I don't think you disagree with me after this, because now that means Ford is liable for the guy driving their SUV through Waukesha. I believe that was a Dodge that the guy did. Virginia was driving a Dodge Charger. That means Dodge is now liable for that because of this. They used the car as a weapon. Now somebody's going to say, well, they don't manufacture the car to intend to kill people. Remington doesn't manufacture the gun designed to kill people. It's designed to be a defense weapon and a hunting weapon. It's not designed to go murder people. It is designed to be used in defense and in sport. The sport being hunting or target shooting. Defense meaning if I'm going to kill you, you're going to end my life because I'm attempting to kill you. But Remington did not design their firearms to say, hey, go out and commit a massacre. The all-new Remington Massacre. Kill them all. No, that's not what they did. They didn't do that. But now they just said that they're still responsible for the actions of the people that use their items as a tool. Because that's what it is. They used it as a tool to commit murders. So now the tool. So okay, so cool. The next guy that gets killed by a nail gun, because it's a nail gun, even though it's not. The design purpose was not to kill anybody, but if somebody at the job site decides to take a nail gun and kill somebody, or just take it home and kill their family, we can sue DeWalt. This is where we've gotten to in this world, folks. This is where we've gotten to in this country. We can now hold the manufacturers liable for their equipment being used in ways that it wasn't intended. Now people are going to make that argument. It's a gun. It's intended to kill people. The key into that statement is this is where you're stupid. It's not intended to kill people. It's intended when death is involved with a human being, is the last option and is a matter of defense. Otherwise, they're designed for hunting or sport, meaning hunting or target shooting. That's what they're designed. That's what they design them for. That's what they sell them for. And now they're responsible. So how long is it going to be before a gun manufacturer gets sued because somebody breaks into a house and the owner and the person that's living in the house uses their firearm to dispatch the individual who showed up inside the dwelling illegally? You love that speak? Yeah, see, that's how I change it from using the trigger words that is used in this argument for what happened. So how long until I use a piece of equipment to dispatch a person who is entered my property without authorization? And then by also causing a suspicion of dispatching myself. It sounds a whole lot different, doesn't it? What I basically said is how long until the gun manufacturer that I used to kill someone who was trying to kill me inside my house without permission. Now it sounds a lot more brutal, doesn't it? Now it's, oh my God, you said kill. You can say it whichever way you want. I'm still going to be on the same stance. Remington was not responsible for that 20-year-old male going into Sandy Hook and killing those people. They're not. And because of this precedence, it can now be way worse. Now, evidently anything, and I do mean anything, that ends up being used as a tool to commit murder, the manufacturer of that item, regardless of what it is, can now be held liable. If I take a battery and beam somebody over the head and kill them, their family can sue the battery manufacturer. Way to go, Remington. Way to go. So, folks, that was the top story of the night, and that's why I'm ticked off. Anybody that's watching this right now, sitting in the chat, that's watching this right now, feel free to comment your opinions on this. Please let me know how you feel. Poor Robert's over there by himself on the Facebook side. But feel free to chime in and let me know what you think. It's a pretty damn scary situation. By the way, programming note, quite possibly tomorrow I might have a special guest on the show. I have the possibility, we're still working on it, a Navy nuclear engineer. Because if you didn't see the news, another person decided they were going to sell secrets to the French. I don't know why, but that's what they decided. That was not the messages I was hoping for. It had nothing to do with the show. So anyway, let's get into the next top story of the night. The next top story of the night. Oh, look, it's our lovely, I guess at this point, you call him almost getting to the point of being a dictator to the North. That would be Justin Trudeau. And what has Justin Trudeau done? Well, in case you guys hadn't seen, Justin Trudeau passed or issued the Canada Emergency Act. Now, what is this, you say? Oh, good Lord. Here it goes. What is the Emergency Act in Canada? And Rich, I'm in America. Why do I care about this? Or Rich, I'm in Germany. Why should I care about this? If you live in a democracy, and of course the United States, of course, is a democratic republic. Okay, but if you live in a country that where you have freedoms and rights, which Canada does, be prepared, because what Canada is doing is starting to set a bad precedence for what the use of an Emergency Powers Act is. Now, understand that it's not quite to the level martial law is in the United States, but it's pretty damn close. And that's not supposed to be where it's at. That was supposed to be back at the beginning, and it's not at the beginning, and now I have to work it all the way back around. So give me a second while it works its way back around. It was supposed to start at the beginning, and it didn't. Okay, that's not the first one. That's actually the last one. I'm still working on. So Canada's Emergency Act. Dun dun dun. Okay, so what the Canada Emergency Act? Like I said, it's kind of like the. It grants certain powers and privileges granted by the Prime Minister to allow agencies to be able to enforce certain things that they weren't able to enforce prior to this. So we'll go to the first one here. Private tow companies permitted to remove vehicles from the organized zones. What that means is before, where all these trucks were parked and all these people were parked, and that could be there, and they're being peaceful. Don't buy the bullshit where they're saying that, oh, it's absolute chaos and there's racism and all this other crap. Okay, but what this does is this prevents private tow companies to be able to go in, hook up to vehicles, and start pulling them out that are in the areas designated as the organized area, according to Justin Trudeau. So if it's an area where Justin Trudeau says this is what we consider the organized area for this protest, they're not permitted to be there any longer. That gives private tow companies to come in and hook up to the trucks and start pulling them out. Okay, regardless if the person wants it towed or not, they can yank it. Which now they're going to start taking people's property. Traveling and gathering are now banned in specific areas. So in Canada, oh God. Okay, sorry, I have a chat going on off to the side over here that keeps covering up one of my screens. So check this out. It is perfectly legitimate, and you're right in Canada to protest. Just like it is in the United States. You can protest. And this one is a peaceful protest. Unlike last summer, where people even in Canada were protesting and burning shit and looting and stuff like that. This one, they're having a carnival. But the trucks aren't willing to move freight anymore, and they've parked themselves at the Capitol. And, of course, we know that Justin Trudeau decided, instead of going out and talking to the organizers of this protest to discuss things and try to come to some kind of agreement, like you should do, he bailed. He went and took off. And while he was gone, he caught COVID from somebody that was there with him. Okay. So instead of doing the right thing and trying to talk this out, he ran and hid. And then he does this because he doesn't want to talk to these people. This is where it starts to get really dirty. Crowdfunding and fundraising will be frozen and accounts will be seized. So for people that donated to this, because I have listeners and viewers that donated to the convoy up in Canada. Canada will now, anybody that has any kind of crowdfunding or fundraising that they could prove, and they've gone to the banks to get the banks to talk to them about this, to let them know who is doing this, where the money is coming from, where is it being funneled through, and then the accounts, and I'll get to that in a minute. That'll be on the next slide. And they're going to freeze them and then seize the money. So that's theft. Okay? And every bit of this is based off of false information to do what he wants to do. He is taking away the rights of people in his country, and he's trying to justify it by telling you that that these people are harming the public by demanding that these people they're making a demand, but he's claiming they're harming the public. He's claiming that they are a threat to society, that they're white supremacists, that they're of all people to call somebody white supremacist. Premier with the blackface, that they're terrorists. Okay, so now under this Emergency Act, here's the funny thing: if you donated money to the convoy, this is where it could get sketchy. Not only is the government is going to seize the accounts of the crowdfunding and the donation groups, and then take the money and not give it back. So they're just going to outright steal money. Okay. Here's the thing. By saying that these people are enemies of the state, by saying that they're terrorists and white supremacists, anybody that donated can be now labeled into that. They could now come after you and your assets. And guess what America and Canada has? We have a 100% extradition and legal punishment agreement, which means if they determine that you in the United States was funding to terrorists, and you were funding terrorists, and you are now considered an enemy of the state of Canada, they can now go after you in the United States. This is what Justin Trudeau has done with this. So they can now freeze your assets. They can freeze your bank accounts. Because all Bank of America or Wells Fargo or Bank of Canada or any of them has to say is, well, this account received a donation for Joe Smith out of South Dakota. Well, then Canada issues a seize order on Joe Smith in South Dakota. And because America has that agreement with Canada, America won't stop them. Now, of course, Canada will have to go to a court in the United States to get this authorized because it's an international situation. But the court will allow that because of the agreement we have with them. And if they decide to issue charges against you for supporting what they deem a terrorist action, they can call for the United States government to come and arrest you and turn you over to the Canadian authorities. They literally can do that, folks. And because of this act, and I've been researching it almost all day, yes, it is authorized. Which all of this actually violates. Truck drivers and organizers' financial accounts will be suspended and possibly seized, and they can possibly be arrested for. They can also, again, possibly be arrested for their participation in this, including any person that participated that was not there. Meaning, if you gave them money. So understand what is going on here. Now, I will tell you that a bunch of people involved in our incident that we had here in the United States were wrong for what they did and should not have gone to the point of trespassing like they did. Okay? But there are people who actually didn't even go into the Capitol that also got arrested because they were involved. Which that I believe is wrong. If people were outside just protesting, that's fine. But the people who technically unlawfully went and trespassed on government property, if you trespass on government property, your ass should be thrown in jail. You can protest at the government. People protest in front of the White House every day without stepping on the federal property. Okay? It's very possible you could have done, and people could have done that at the Capitol. They could have still protested without going in. Now, that's neither here nor there, and I don't want to get in an argument over whether or not people were right for what they did or what they didn't do, because, my God, that argument will never end. There are so many people that got that so wrong it's stupid. Okay? Do I believe that they were terrorists? No. Do I believe that they committed there was people who trespassed and destruction of federal property and things that absolutely, and they should be prosecuted for it. Insurrection? No. I don't believe that. Trust me when I say this. I have a constitutional law degree. To me, it does not meet the smell test of insurrection. Nobody, and I do mean nobody, had any chance nor the inclination to legitimately overthrow the government. Besides, you can't overthrow the government by taking the House of Representatives. You have to take the leadership out. Well, leadership, the vice president and the Speaker of the House were evacuated out of there. See, I didn't have to worry about it. All four positions of succession were well guarded. Nobody was getting there. And then nobody had any. Just because somebody, this person had a blueprint of the Capitol, but I'm going down a rabbit hole. And so what? I could get a blueprint of the Capitol. It's not that difficult to do. It's a matter of public record. But the thing is you still have the right to protest. Now, I don't have a problem with anybody who strongly believes in something marching down the street or marching up to a building and letting their voices be heard. I have no problems with this. What I have a problem is when you start destroying shit. What I have a problem is when you start burning shit down, stealing shit. Then I have a problem. I don't believe that's covered in your rights. Well, these guys in Canada aren't burning shit down. They're not stealing shit. They literally parked out in the street having a festival while trying to make their voices heard. Okay? Nikolai says peaceful protests. I agree 100% with peaceful protests. Absolutely. Kumbaya yourself to death. Perfectly fine with that. I don't have an issue with that. But when you start burning shit down and you start looting, then I have a problem with that. I really do. I don't give a damn what your cause is. You don't burn shit down and steal shit. You just don't do it. But now with what Canada is doing, evidently you can't even peacefully protest. Because if you are protesting against something that the government wants, or if you are peacefully protesting against what the government is trying to do, then evidently that makes you a terrorist now. So if I get 5 people together and we go marching down the street and we disagree with the government, that makes me a terrorist now. And the Department of Homeland Security's even put out a list of things like the people that go to school board meetings and say, we're done with this. We want our kids out of masks. Well, the DHS says that they could be terrorists. I mean, hell, if you voted for Donald Trump, you are now listed as a terrorist. You know, Eric says, we'll fight for a peaceful protest. You damn right, and I'll fight for your right to be a peaceful protest, even if I completely 100% disagree with you. Even if you're fighting for, calling the sky purple. Okay? And you are doing it peacefully, I will defend your right to do so, even though I completely disagree with you. I served this country, so that way your people's rights could be protected because I felt like I had a duty to serve this country to make sure that I follow in the footsteps of many others who did it before me to protect and defend this country and to protect and defend our rights. So, like I said, if I disagree with you, but you're doing it peacefully, I will fight for every inch of your rights. I will defend it till my last breath. But in Canada, and evidently in the United States now, based on precedents, you can't do that. Because if you disagree with the government, you're now a terrorist. I found it funny that back in 2016, you were supposed to disagree with the government. That's what they said. Disagree with this. Disagree. 2020, you can't disagree with the government. That makes you a terrorist. Now, Justin Trudeau, you can't disagree with Trudeau. Senor Premier Blackface. Because that makes you a terrorist and a white supremacist. I watched this past weekend several videos from Canada. A lot of people live streaming. That looked like one of the most funnest festivals that I've seen in a long time. They were having a blast. People were showing up, having a good time, but they were all talking about the same thing. We need to bring this to a stop. We need to take our rights back. Trudeau just took away a lot of people's rights, and he did it by an emergency act order. Well, the United States do the same damn thing. It's called martial law. Martial law, your constitutional rights are suspended, and the government will tell you what you can and cannot do until the emergency is considered over with. Okay? Now, it does take a little bit for the president to declare martial law, but still, that's what Trudeau has done. Because you disagree with him, you now no longer have the right to do so. And that's garbage. Absolute garbage. I feel bad for my Canadian brothers, and then I feel bad for anybody in the United States who has supported this. And if anybody in the United States gets arrested or gets their assets seized for supporting these truckers, I will defend you, and I will make sure that I tell everybody I can hear that this person should not be convicted for this because they were supporting somebody's rights to protest. It's garbage. And this is how bad it is, right? This is how you know it's bad. Okay, that's Peter Slowsy. It's Slossy. I botch names. That's why I liked being, when I was in the service, I got away with saying, hey, you. That was the Ottawa police commissioner. Okay? He quit. He did. He quit. He said, fuck this. I'm out. Because he disagrees with what Trudeau is doing. He does not think he can tell you that these people have not been committing violence, have not been committing destruction. In fact, one of the things that somebody said, well, and I even said this, you can make an argument, well, if it's disrupting food deliveries and medication. And then more research I did found out that when the food trucks are showing up to deliver to grocery stores, things like that, the organizers ordered them to let those trucks go through and make their deliveries. They are ordered to let ambulances and fire trucks and police officers through so they can do their jobs. They have made sure that if people are coming through to get medication, stuff like that, they are ordered and they're not to be interfered with. They're to be able to this organization that's running this protest is very organized and very professional. But what happened is the whole thing, literally the whole thing, is because they're disagreeing with the tyrant that is in charge of the country. It's a lie. I mean, it's bad enough that even CNN today called Trudeau a tyrant. They literally did. They called the man a tyrant. That's bad when CNN had to agree with people on the right that said this is tyrannical behavior. Because it is. Oh, let's see. What other stories do I have in here? I'm not going to be able to get to the... Well, I don't know if I want to keep going here or not. Let me know in the chat if you want me to move on to talk to you about the Electoral College issue and what's going on with the country pact. I'm thinking about moving this story to tomorrow because we're coming up on 7 o'clock, and I don't like going over an hour. There's been some shenanigans going on with the Electoral College and the states and the interstate agreement. But I think I want to hold this off until tomorrow. I'm not sure because, like I said, I don't like going on longer than an hour, and I've already been on for 59 minutes. So, what I'll do while I'm waiting to see if anybody responds in the chat, if they want me to talk to you about the Electoral College and the shenanigans going on with that, let me tell you about a local establishment here. Unfortunately, it's one that I frequently a lot. In League City, Kelly's Country Cooking burnt down. It's a League City favorite. Unfortunately, during being open during Valentine's Day, the building caught fire, and unfortunately 8 firefighters were injured in fighting the fire, but no patrons were hurt in the process. Kelly's had just undergone some renovations on its roof. They were still working on it, and Chief Lugo, who is the League City Fire Chief, stated that that's where the fire began. So, all right, I got the station owner and show director has stated that we will run the show about the Electoral College tomorrow. So tomorrow, folks, we're going to talk about shenanigans going on with Electoral College. But yeah, anyway, Kelly's Country Kitchen. Unfortunately, it's a total loss. Now, I will say all 8 firefighters that were injured in the fire, they are going to be recovering. One was a little on the serious injuries. What had happened is the main beam of the roof fell during the firefighting and fell onto the firefighters and injured them. One of them did get hurt pretty seriously, but according to Chief Lugo, he'll be okay. So that's great. I'm really grateful for that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so like I said, keep an eye on Canada, because if the Canadians get away with this, be looking at the United States to eye something similar, because there has been talks about the truckers here in the United States doing a protest. Be looking for that. It could get scary real quick. And folks, like I said again, I really hate that judge allowed that civil case to happen with Remington and Sandy Hook. I really do. I wish Remington would have fought that and made them decide to make a legal decision, because then they could have appealed it. They could have put up a fight, but Remington didn't. So like I said, Remington's no longer going to get my business, because they shouldn't have done that. They should not have done that. They should have fought that to the end. So it's very possible that your Second Amendment rights could be infringed upon, but not because legislation, because of a judge. And because Remington gave up. It's unfortunate, but that's how it goes. If you missed that part of the show, I'm getting ready to end the show. You'll be able to rewind back and go back and see it more. Feel free to make comments in the comment section if you want. And I will definitely respond to any of them all the time. I respond to everything that's put in my comment section. I respond to messages on my social media platforms. Everybody tell you I'll talk to you about anything. Nothing is off limits with me. But ladies and gentlemen, once again, though, if you like this content and you like what I do and you want to see more of it, make sure you click that subscribe button. Click the bell for notifications on YouTube. If you're watching me on Facebook, or if you're watching me on Twitch, click the follow button. And then make sure you set the notifications on that platform to tell you on that platform. Make sure you set the notifications so that way when I go on live or I put any content out, you'll get notified immediately. The border blockade broke. Yes. Police raided a nearby house and arrested 11. Is this involved in Canada? They arrest... I'll have to look more into that and do some updates about that tomorrow. Why did they raid a nearby house and arrest 11 people in Canada? Were they people that refused to leave? Were they funding? What was going on with that? Now, once again, I know that there's a horrific delay. They seized 2 trucks at midnight. Okay, they seized 2 trucks at midnight. Yeah, I told you guys. This is that Emergency Act thing. They actually went into somebody's house and arrested 11 people and seized 2 of the trucks. Oh, they went after the organizers. See? Once again, peaceful protesting. I guess it's great in theory, but it's evidently not permitted anymore. But you can mostly peaceful protest, and that's perfectly fine. But evidently, actual peaceful protest, you can't do that if it defies what the government wants. Even though that's part of the reason for protesting is the government has done something that you don't like, and you want to go out and have your voices heard to see if you can convince the government to change their mind on it. But evidently now that's illegal. Which, at least in Canada, which eliminates your right to freedom of speech. Well, and freedom of speech is not guaranteed in Canada to an extent. It is in the United States. That's ridiculous and asinine. Absolutely asinine. I feel sorry for my brothers to the north, and I know a lot of Canadians went in tactical style with a journalist. A journalist was there. I feel bad. I like I said, I got a bunch of friends that live in Canada, eh? And the Great White North. And this is what's happening. It's unfortunate. Folks, take care of yourselves up there, seriously. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to talk about the Electoral College. And I'm sure we'll have other news that's going to come out. If folks ask me why I haven't talked about Ukraine, I don't want to talk about Ukraine because right now it's a whole bunch of saber rattling and my dick is bigger than your dick. It's literally what's going on in Ukraine. And so there's really nothing to update on that's of any real importance. So, folks, so you guys have yourselves a wonderful night. For everybody here at the Rich Wilson Studio, Dave, wonderful job tonight. Awesome. Did a great job, buddy. We'll talk to you guys later. Have yourselves a good night. And don't do what I wouldn't do, which that doesn't leave you much room for error, folks. For everybody here at the Rich Wilson Studio, good night.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.